In the last availability, Aaron Wilson, Houston Texans insider for Channel 2, caught up with former Texans right tackle, now I guess Texans right guard, Tytus Howard. I'm surprised by how confident Howard seems to be in this very, very different Texans offensive line with all the turnover this offseason and a brand new offensive line coach in Cole Popovich to boot. I'm very surprised by the confidence Titus Howard is speaking about this unit with after minicamp is done.
Yeah, I mean, we got a chip on our shoulder, and people underestimate what we're going to be this year, but, that's their problem. When that first game comes and we come out that ball and hit them in the mouth, like, they're going to be like, oh, these guys for real.
Changes the narrative.
Like we've been putting that work in right now, and we're going to continue to put that work in training camp, and everything going to be perfect. But I'm telling you, when that game one comes, and they see what the Texas offensive line is about, we're going to be ready.
Changes that narrative, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So I don't know where this confidence is coming from. I respect that Titus Howard is confident. You got to be confident in this league to succeed. But I mean, CJ Stroud got sacked 8 times in his last game. And the Houston Texans allowed CJ Stroud to be sacked 60 plus times last year. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. I want to believe him, but how can we believe this guy when the Texans traded their best offensive lineman this offseason in Laramie Tunsil? When right now, I don't even know who's going to be starting on the interior offensive line. You've got Jake Andrews in from the New England Patriots as the center right now. At guard, you have Laken Tomlinson in there from time to time. They drafted Arianti Ursary in the 3rd round, this big guy out of Minnesota. Blake Fisher is still around. I'm hearing that based on those who are actually at minicamp that Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter are giving these tackles a very difficult time, which you expect with those 2 pass rushers, but look, it's a non-padded series of practices that's available to the media, and nothing they could have done is going to change our mind. But that's a lot of certainty from Tytus Howard right there.
Yeah, I think I would have liked this quote more, or at least the quote would have been more. I guess I would have received it better if it was from one of the new guys. If it was the idea of like, hey, we're changing things. Like in so many words, I'm here and we're going to bring this new mentality, as opposed to a guy who, like you said, was on last year's team. He got moved around last year's team on last year's offensive line because it was so porous. And, at the end of the day, it's a guy who has been here since 2019, got drafted. So there's a little bit of like, the guy who's been here the whole time, don't you tell me it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Like, there's no evidence of that. We've seen you play for 6 years and he's good, but there's not like this change in like, yeah, we're going to come out and hit you in the mouth. You haven't done that.
No.
You've never done that.
He's never done that. He's adequate.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'd say good. He's
adequate. He's like starting quality offensive lineman, but not like I guess, above average starter.
Right. And he's overpaid.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's paid like he is. Yeah.
He's paid like a tackle and he's playing guard now. Like that's as simple as it gets. Forget watching the film, determining whether or not the guy's good. A little bit later, and you want to watch this full thing, it's on YouTube. Sean, the clip is at about 2:59, where Aaron Wilson sets up Tytus Howard talking about the reports about the Texans offensive line group being toxic. Aaron is, I think, setting Tytus up here, saying that he doesn't agree with the idea that the Texans offensive line room was toxic. That was a report from Albert Breer. For what it's worth, Bert Breer was not here that much this past season. but I'm sure he did hear that from somewhere. I don't think he would have just made that up. Here's more Tytus Howard talking about the idea of the Texans' offensive line being toxic.
Is this coming from?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. We didn't have a toxic group as far as the players and stuff like that. We didn't have a toxic group. I feel like the guys on the group's always been close since I've been here. It's just a matter of, the type of style of offense we've been in, or the type of coaching we get. I feel like this coaching that we're getting right now is one of the best coaching I've had since I've been in the league. And it's attention to detail. No matter if you're year 11, year one guy, everybody getting coached the same way, and that's the type of stuff we need right now.
So, that should have been happening already. And sorry, Titus, if I'm not impressed by you saying right now, this is one of the best coaching. This is some of the best coaching I've had since I've been in the league. I'm not that excited about that. There has been very, very, very poor development out of offensive linemen on this team for anyone outside of you for a while. We're talking like a decade in terms of just take a look at some of the people who they have drafted that haven't worked out, and we're talking about second round picks in the cases of some of them, whether it was Nick Martin,
Suafilo.
Xavier Suafilo. There's that guy that they got from Central Michigan. There's a bunch of names, and they're forgettable.
Green.
Right. Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. That one's not forgettable because of how much of a disappointment that was. That was a first-round pick. The development hasn't been there. So I suppose that any change is good by default, but we're supposed to expect you guys to be better. It feels like the chip on your shoulder isn't merited. You guys were terrible last season. There's a chip on your shoulder? No, there should be embarrassment just covering you right now. You are lathered in shame.
Yeah.
And sorry to frame it like that, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I think the word toxic is what really gets people in the Breer reporting, what all the Texans brush back on so much is the word toxic. It feels like dysfunctional. That also works because guess what? The offensive line last year, you can't get up in front of a microphone and say that it was functional.
No.
That it was dysfunctional by definition. Whether that was, the leaders in that room, whether that was the coaching, whatever it was, whether it's just those guys stunk, whether it's just those guys are bad football players and now they have good football players.
Right.
Whatever it is, it was not functional last year. And so to have Titus Howard seemingly absolve himself of any responsibility or any of these shortcomings, and then go, but we're receiving some of the best coaching now.
I'm glad you framed it like that, Sean. You know what would go a long way? And for some, whenever you admit you're wrong or you apologize, it's never going to be enough for some people.
Yeah.
And hell, maybe it wouldn't be enough for me. Maybe I would be a complete hypocrite here. And if you apologize, say it's not enough. I need burpees or something like that. But I would love if Howard said last year was unacceptable. We were bad. They were. You can't say anything else. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't protect CJ Stroud. Everything was bad. Stroud looks like a question mark going forward in terms of how much better can he get. He looks like he might have already reached his ceiling based off of the offensive line. Do I believe that? No. I think that Stroud's tremendously talented. But over the course of the season, he started feeling things that weren't there. And the thing that was very frustrating about this offensive line all season long wasn't necessarily a lack of accountability. It was more just indifference to the criticism that was being laid at their feet, starting with Laramie Tunsil, who I think seemed to think, I'm doing my job for the most part. But no, the rest of the offensive line wasn't. And that's why we were pissed off every single week. And then to hear some of them saying from time to time, I don't get it. Oh, the referees, they were out to get us in this game like they were against the Vikings. On that Vikings game where they're talking, the false starts, the illegal formations. Okay, whatever. You still sucked. Outside of that, you guys were terrible. I would like to see just a little bit of self-reflection and honesty about what last year was. You can't give up 60-plus sacks to a quarterback for your quarterback. You can't, period. 40 or more is a lot. 60 plus is historic. 60 plus is approaching David Carr numbers, for God's sakes. Okay? And by the way, I mean, Stroud, we've seen him miss games before. I mean, he played in every single game this year, I think, right?
Did he play in the last week of the season? That's
outside of he played a couple of plays the last
they
week of the
they
season.
Did play him a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, at least he survived. But that was a miracle.
Yeah, and the year before he missed the 2 games.
Right.
Got hurt against the Jets and missed the Titans and Browns game in December. But yeah, I that's what it is. And I think ultimately you are right that like even if they did come out and say like, or if Tytus Howard was like, we were not up to standard, I was not up to standard last year, like it would help, but at the end of the day, we would still be in the same spot where at least I am now, where you can talk about how much you like the mentality of this room and how much better the coaching is. To me, just with the guys that they got, you just have to prove it during the season. Like if they would have gone out, and we've talked about Joe Tooney a lot, if they would have gone out and gotten some real like names that carry weight in this league, I could see where I'm optimistic about this offensive line, not just improving, but being, dare I say, good, average.
It doesn't even sound like you'd necessarily be optimistic if they brought in those good names.
No, it would be like, okay, they'd be like average. What they brought in journeymen. Like they brought in journeymen and rookies.
Cam Robinson, who 1-year contract, doesn't seem like there was a lot of demand for his services.
Lincoln Tomlinson,
Trent Brown, Ed Ingram. You're right. So
it's just guys where I'm like, these are offensive linemen, but they're not. None of them am I like, I can see how they're getting better by they lose Tunsil, but they add these 2 guys, and I can see where you're plugging more hole. It's like, no, these are just more question marks.
Jake Andrews, a cast off from a bad Patriots offensive line, is apparently already your starting center. I mean,
that's troubling to me.
Just think about a little bit of it.
An offensive line who almost got their young quarterback killed.
Yeah.
We're fans of that team, where I think they're being extreme with this, but they didn't want their rookie quarterback to play because they thought it would be a danger to him.
You're right.
One of those guys that got cut off of that team is now your starting center. It's just impossible for me, again, to be optimistic about what this group can be. Sure, maybe instead of being, I don't know, the 30th best offensive line like they were last year, maybe they can be the 24th. And that is an improvement, but I just have a hard time seeing that it's going to be a meaningful improvement until they actually go out and do it.
The Texans allowed, between the regular season and postseason, 65 sacks last season. 65.
It's not good.
And I don't know that this one is better. I want to believe it is. Cole Popovich, I'm hoping much better than Chris Strausser, who a lot of people thought had one foot out the door last season. He was their offensive line coach last year with Nick Caley as offensive coordinator. But you would think that with all the new pieces, it couldn't possibly be worse than next season. Okay, great. But just remember how bad last year was.